it's Lisa. Today's story involves all of these shirts. When I first saw these pictures, I was sure that the story was going to be about the crown or the tiara. And I asked my stepdaughter about this as she was babysitting her niece, what the significance of the tiara was. Were they playing princess or what they were doing? And she said, no, Olivia just grabbed that and put it on because she loves anything on her head. But the real story was about all these different shirts. So it's really about the layers of shirts, and that's going to be part of our title. I have some yellow paper here that I want to use for the background, and you can see I've cut a hole. I punched out one little bit out of this one piece of pattern paper, but that's no problem. I can easily trim that out and arrange my paper so it'll still show top and bottom. I need some bright blue paper, and I have a tiny bit of this paper left from Stampin' Up. This is an old color of theirs and one of their designer papers. One of these days I need to find some other blue paper this color, because every time I need that color, this is the only paper I've got, or either I need to do something with my jelly plate in those colors, because that's one that I do use from time to time. We're going to have a fairly long title on the page and some journaling, and I'm going to try to build in my embellishments sort of as part of the title and get that little tiara in there, because there's not going to be a lot of room on the page for other things. I do want to do something to talk about these sunglasses a little bit, and I think I can use a call out for that. And I noticed that one of the layers here has a lot of stars, so we might work some stars into it as well, just as small embellishments. But it's going to be a page very heavy on the photos and the title. So let's get started. We're going to be working with the silhouette, and I want to show you how I'm going to create my layered title. Okay, I'm in the Silhouette software, and I'm going to go to the text tool and type in layers as the word that I want to cut. I want to change the font though, and the font I'm going to use is the Grand Hotel font, and I'll have to put on the screen where I got this. It was a free font, and I'll share with you where I got it. It makes a really pretty script font when all the letters are joined together, which they're not right at the moment. So let's weld them together. So click away and then just click on the word itself and go to Object Weld. And that will put all of them together. And then, the one thing it does is it puts AYERS as one object, and then the L is still a separate object. So to make it easy to move them around, I'm going to go ahead and group them. So that way when I'm working with them, it's now back to being one object. And I want to make them a little bigger, because this is going to be sort of a significant part of the page, so it can be a little bit larger title. And I want to add some additional layers to layer. And I'm going to do that with the offset window. So when I click on offset, having the word layers selected, and choose offset, it automatically creates an offset of 0.125 inches, which is almost always larger than what I really want it to be. So I'm going to change this to 0.08 and apply that, and that will make a little bit smaller offset. And you'll notice that everything, of course, the Silhouette does in the color red. I'm going to change that color, that line color, to blue. It doesn't really matter. I just want it to be something different. And I'm doing that just for my purposes visually, to see what I'm doing and seeing what I'm working with. It has no impact on cutting at all. Now I'd like to take this blue layer that it has created for me and offset that one as well. Now I want to make sure that I have chosen this outside area, the blue one, and I don't have the blue one chosen, so let's put this one back, and just to be sure, yep, still don't have the blue one chosen. That's fine. That's why we have them in different colors, so we can easily see. Alright, so I'm going to make sure I have just the blue one chosen, and I'm going to click on Offset again, go to the Offset menu, and add another 0.08, apply that, and change the color to green. Again, just something different. Let's make it a little bit brighter green. Alright, so now I have 3 layers. And that's how my title will look when it's cut out. It'll have an inside, and then a middle, and then an outside layer, and it kind of goes with the whole shirt theme. And one of the reasons I have them in different colors is I want to separate them to cut them, And I know that the red is going to be whatever my top layer is, and the blue is going to be the next layer, and the green is going to be the next one. Sometimes these I can pretty much tell when they're separated that this is the biggest one. You can kind of tell because it doesn't have any little openings for any of the letters in the middle, but you can't always tell that. So it's good to have them in different colors. So now I'm going to click on the Fit to Page option. I can place these around on my cutting mat, so I can put my papers on the mat and cut all 3 of them at one time. So I've trimmed down my paper, my background paper, and I'm going to glue it on an old piece of just really thin cardstock, or rather designer paper. For the background, I used some of those old paper pad pieces that I've had for quite some time for this kind of thing. Because it'll all get covered up, and then the photos will cover up that space in the middle. And we have layers cut out there, those words, or that word, and then the rest of the words for the top part of the title. And I've still got to glue this stuff together, but I'm kind of getting an idea of how I want to arrange things. And then around the bottom, I used the same font and the same color paper. I wasn't sure I would do that, but to create the rest of the title. So we have layers of shirts and a tiara, of course. But I thought that tiara needed to have a tiara. So I downloaded an image from the Silhouette store for a little crown. You get more images when you search on crown than you do tiara. Just for future reference, if you ever need one. And I'm going to put the word there on top of it, but there's a little scallop design on it, and I'm not crazy about it in blue. It kind of competes with the text in blue. So I think I'm going to use what I have cut out there as a stencil and put in some other color, maybe just a tone on tone in gold. So I'm using some washi tape to glue everything to or stick everything down so it doesn't go everywhere. And then I'll use this, what would be normally the throwaway, as a stencil. And I'm just putting stickles in the middle of it. And my next newsletter is going to have a tip similar to this with some perfect pearls, but sign up for that if you haven't already, and it's just a free newsletter that I do once a month with a little video for newsletter subscribers only and some extra tips. And this is going to need to dry quite a while because stickles always take quite a long time to dry. This particular day I did a birthday card for my dad, and I had already taken it downstairs, so I didn't use the heat gun. I used a hair dryer to dry the stickles so I could get it dry and give him his birthday card. Alright, got everything dry, and we're just going to put tiara on top of that. And I'm going to put it on with the Zig glue pen. Works really great for these very thin letters. And some things like the dots on the eyes and commas and stuff, a lot of times I don't take those off the Silhouette mat until I'm ready to put them on something. If I don't need to cut something else with the mat, I just leave them on the mat, because every time I take them off, they get lost on my table. So I felt like I liked them laying on yellow, but I just had too much of that one paper. So I wanted to put something underneath them, and I looked first at some white paper. I'm also going to use some stars. I've got those out there for future reference. But I have this yellow and white check, and I like it, but I don't have enough of it to go all the way across unless I seam it. And the tiara will actually cover up a seam. So I'm cutting it in 2 pieces, and then I'm just gluing that underneath, or gluing it across so that the seam falls where the tiara is going to be. And then you never know that I had to piece my paper to make this work. Using a lot of the last little bits of things for this page. I do use blue and yellow for pages, and I don't always have, I always have lots of yellow in my stash, but I always have a lot of that bright blue, so I need to collect that wherever I can. And I'll trim down those edges and use the glue pen to glue the rest of the words on. And this thing, this chipboard element, I could not get the back off of it good, and I finally just gave up and peeled the peel away plus part of the chipboard away and stuck some glue on there to hold it in place. Alright,
Now, for our tiara, I thought it ought to have some rhinestones in it. It's a tiara, it ought to have some gems. And I started going through my stuff where I have enamel dots and gems, and I have these that I bought, I think from Peachy Cheap, where I bought a whole bunch of them. I'd forgotten I had them. When I went looking for rhinestones, I was pleased to find such pretty ones that I still had. I'm going to be doing a video soon on, in fact it may end up coming out before this, about summer stuff and kinds of products that I want to use this summer. And these are one of the things that I need to use. I had this box sitting out on my work table, but I'd forgotten about these specific rhinestones. Got stuff in my stash that I just forget that I have sometimes. So I did this last summer, and I found it was really a great way to use some of my stash and to have fun without spending a lot of money. Summertime, you want to take trips if you can and do other things, and so I don't always want to spend a fortune on scrapbooking supplies. So it's good to work through things in your stash. And these little stars, I've got lots of little wooden stars. I've used these a lot too. So I'm just figuring out which ones I want to place on the page, and we'll glue those down.
I have our completed page with lots of layers here to go with the layers of shirts and the whole story behind that. And the glue's still drying on my stars. And then I like all these little extra rhinestones in the tiara. They kind of go with the sets, and hers have some rhinestones in it as well. And then a place for the journaling on the bottom. So a very centered kind of layout. I don't have the tiara right in the center, but it kind of worked with the photos too here to sort of place the elements. Anyway, it was a fun page. Got a lot of stuff off the silhouette for this page because it had a really long title, and I like it all in the same font and pretty much the same color. Just stuck with the blue throughout. I didn't quite plan that at the beginning. I was thinking I might do this in a different color down here, but I had enough of the blue paper, so it made sense to just go ahead and do all that in blue. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll check out my blog for more information, and if you're not already a subscriber to the newsletter, check that out. There's going to be a tip kind of similar to this one, but also another little tiny tip about the silhouette that you may not know in the next newsletter that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks, I hope. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.